Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Journey to National Master. In this episode, I played against João Ferreira, and this was the last round of Torneio Fechado Marquês, and it was kind of a must-win situation if I wanted to secure second place. So yeah, I really was hoping to get my chances and to win. And this game was also on the same day as last video. And yeah, as you guys saw in the last video, I was pretty much very stressed out from the first game, and my strategy going into the last game with the black pieces was just to play what I know best and just try to be solid and grind out a win. So let's see how it went. So my opponent had the white pieces. He started with e4. I went for my beloved Caro-Kann, the opening that I have the most experience in OTB chess for sure. My opponent goes d4, I go d5, takes. We have an exchange Caro-Kann. My opponent plays knight f3, I play knight c6, bishop f4, and here I play bishop g4. So pretty standard so far. c3 by my opponent, I go knight f6, and my opponent goes knight bd2. Here I go e6, bishop d3 here by my opponent. So pretty standard so far, just developing all the pieces normally. Both sides are doing that. I play bishop d6, and yeah, I mean, this move might feel like a bit weird because this is my good bishop, and this is my opponent's bad bishop. But the thing is that I have to develop my bishop anyway, and I think here on e7 is just too passive. My opponent is putting a lot of pressure here on this diagonal, and I actually, in this structure, the carlsbad structure, I want to play rook b8 to try to break with a6, b5, b4. So bishop d6 actually makes sense here. My opponent takes, I take, he plays h3, and I play bishop h5. He castles, I castle. So very equal, very dry, just a position that I really wanted to play out because I know my plans here, and I'm just gonna try to execute them. Also, time wise, I was spending pretty much no time. I was almost blitzing out all the moves, and my opponent was taking some serious time in the opening, and that made me feel confident because yeah, I had some nice time advantage from the early game here. So okay, castles by me, rook e1 played by my opponent. I play a6, the start of my plan here. My opponent goes knight f1, which makes sense because my opponent really wants to play on the king side. He wants to maneuver his pieces towards my king, and my play will be more focused on the queen side. So knight f1, b5 here, just going for the minority attack. Very typical plan here in this structure. Knight g3, bishop g6, and my opponent goes for knight e5 here. And yeah, I guess the simple way to deal with this position is really to just take the bishop, and here my opponent took with the queen, and yeah, my opponent is starting to get some play, but my play is also coming very fast. So I go rook b8, rook fb8, and I just want to push b4. My opponent plays b4 himself, and this is a very risky move. Maybe he could have played a3. This would be a bit better, I would say, less risky, because it just delays my plan here. The problem with the b4 here is that I kind of achieved my plan like already, because my plan was really to just create a weakness on my opponent's side, and I created this. He created himself this c3 weakness, and I'm gonna try to exploit that for the next moves. Here I play knight d7. Maybe I could have played immediately something like rook c8, but I just wanted to challenge the knight here on e5. I was expecting my opponent to go f4, and here I would just probably sit in the position and try to figure it out. Don't know what I should immediately do. Maybe I can even strike with a5 to really break things down. Maybe I can just take the knight as well. Doesn't seem horrible. And yeah, I have some options here. But my opponent played knight takes d7, which I feel like helps me a bit. Queen takes d7, and my opponent plays a3, trying to solidify everything. Here I play knight e7, just want to reroute my knight here. My opponent plays knight h5, and here, yeah, I didn't really understand this move. It felt very artificial, you know? Okay, here I just play knight g6, I mean, just reroute my knight to a defensive position here while I try to poke at the queen side. So here my opponent played queen g3, and I guess the point is that you know, if I move this knight, I'll be mated. And here I just played rook c8. I just want to start, you know, putting pressure on his c3 weakness. The computer like thinks that I should have just played a5 a long time ago. Yeah, I felt like I didn't really have to play a5 immediately, but probably was the best according to the computer. Rook e3 by my opponent. So, okay, my opponent is starting to scare me a little bit with this plan of attacking at all costs and mating me. Here I play queen e7 with the subtle threat of playing queen h4. I felt like if the only chance that my opponent has in this position is really to mate me, and I feel like if I traded the queens, I would be very comfortable and I wouldn't get mated. So here my opponent played rook e1. I played queen h4 here, trying to trade queens, and my opponent actually accepted the queen trade. So okay, I was very happy with this queen trade, of course. Here my opponent plays g4, and I took a little bit of time here to think. The clock situation was fantastic for me. I had like probably 1 hour, and my opponent already had something like maybe 20 minutes or something like that. So yeah, he had very little time compared to me. So here I just play rook c4, just cementing the rook on the c4 square and trying to double up. Here my opponent plays rook d3. I play rook c8, and here my opponent actually surprises me with rook e3. He does this lateral defense, which I wasn't expecting, but okay, it shouldn't be such a big deal. Here I played knight g6, trying to reroute my knight. My opponent played king g2. I went knight f8, knight f4, and knight d7, with the idea of going knight f6, knight e4 at some point. Maybe even knight b6 can be an idea, although, you know, I don't think my knight should be there at the moment, but okay. Here my opponent plays knight e2, and I simply play g5. And this move was a bad move, honestly. Yeah, g5, trying to stop f4 is not really the best move ever. Actually, just helps him create counterplay on the king side here. You know, I probably the engine says that I should just play knight b6. Like I said, I really didn't think this was a good move, but I can, you know, play rook c6 here, try to go and break with a5, and yeah, that's my only winning plan is to open the A file and try to infiltrate through it and create some more weaknesses and some more chances, some more targets. But okay, I totally missed the point of the position here with g5. I felt like I was way too confident in a bad way. I should have been more cautious, but okay, g5. Here my opponent improves his king. Good move. King g3. I go knight f6, trying to go here on e4. My opponent plays f3, stopping that, and I go a5. So, boom. I just go a5 and I finally break with it to try to create more weaknesses, and I finally commit to a5 without even really preparing it. Here my opponent surprised me with this move, which, yeah, it felt very scary because all of a sudden you kind of see why g5 was not good move, because honestly my opponent didn't even want to play f4, because the problem with playing f4 even in such a position like is that he always gives me this e4 square, so it's very risky to play f4 because my knight is in time to jump to e4. But the thing, I was, I think I was fearing something like g5 followed by f4. With g5 first, my knight doesn't have the f6 square, so I just played g5 to kind of stop g5 by my opponent. But I think that was a little bit seeing ghosts, But okay, we got this position here. I played h6 and my opponent played h4. And I kind of thought that I was a little bit in trouble here, because all of a sudden, if I have to move my knight to h7, I'm super passive and I don't really see much advantage here. But thankfully, I spotted this nice move, knight d7, going back to d7 and kicking the rook away. Rook goes back to e3 and I'm in time to take on b4. A takes b4 here and I play rook c6, trying to switch up my rooks to the a file. Okay, so my opponent tries to bring a rook back to defend here. I go rook a8, h takes g5, h takes g5, and here my opponent plays f4, which then again it's a very risky move because it allows my knight the e4 square. So I take on f4, knight takes, knight f6, I'm going to e4 here. Rook c1, I didn't really understand this move all that much, but okay. Here I go knight e4, check, king f3, and here I had a very important decision to make. My opponent had like 2 minutes on the clock at this point. He was in huge time trouble. I had like, I want to say like 30 to 20 minutes or something like that. So I really took some time in the later stages of the game. I think I had like 20 or 30, yeah. But here, I played rook a3, and this was a very tricky move order. I could have played rook a2 immediately, but I wanted to be tricky. And what do I mean by tricky? So I played rook a3 first and just attacking the c3 pawn. So my opponent has to defend it. Knight e2. Now I go rook a2. And the problem here is that my opponent can't move the knight, because if he moves the knight, it's gonna be checkmate on f2. And if I went immediately to a2, I think he would have realized that I was threatening checkmate, so he would probably like defend it this way. And it looks like the same thing, but the tempos are a little bit different, right? So I just wanted to be tricky because he was in time trouble. So I went rook a3, knight e2, rook a2, and here my opponent blundered with knight g3 in time trouble, and I checkmated him like this, and I won the game. So yeah, very positional battle, and very smooth win, I would say. I really managed to play a nice exchange Karakan, so I was very happy about this. Of course, I finished the tournament with the win, and I also finished in second place. So overall, was a very good tournament for me, even though I didn't gain that much rating because I had two big losses. But it's all good. And next video, I'll start covering the other tournament that I played in this month in June, and it will also have amazing games. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.